Thanks so much for helping me prepare for my synesthesia exam tomorrow. I didn't know Hamzy gave pop exams too. Look how bad I did on my enzymes test. I need to do well on this next test. These April marks are sent to universities, and I need to get in if I want to get 6 degrees like you, Dr. Mr. Saraswat. First of all, I no longer have only 6 degrees, and I think you have mistaken my identity. I'm no longer Dr. Mr. Saraswat, but I am now the Honorable Descendant of the Queen, Sir Dr. Mr. Professor Saraswat, the Reverend Rabbi the First. Just for that, I'm not teaching you. Get out of my classroom. Alright, let's check the weather.
There's a storm coming! Back you, Swag Daddy!
Thousands have gathered here today for the memorial service of beloved superhero and samosa vendor, Superuncle.
Aw, this is boring. Oh, sweet holy Jesus, house is on.
Something is wrong with my eyes, my ears. I crashed a flight simulator because I started to hear with my eyes.
New patient, 30-year-old female with synesthesia. Now, you all have numbers, so we're going to do this alphabetically.
Is the synesthesia new?
Yes.
Any history of similar symptoms or psychiatric?
No, nothing.
Are you on any prescription meds or use any other drugs?
No.
Has anyone close to you been sick lately? A family member, a coworker?
No, not that I'm aware of.
You spend much time above 20,000 feet?
Why would you ask that?
People who fly are immobile for long periods. Could be a leg clot that embolized to the brain through a PFO.
The patient is a frequent flyer. Get a SAMA, an EEG, MRI, and angiogram. Test her blood, test her stool.
Her name on an employment slip?
We weren't checking for that stuff, okay? Obviously, Haas didn't want us to.
You're gonna out me, aren't you? You're gonna ruin everything.
Nobody's trying to do anything. Just relax.
This is not a normal response. The test pulse and BP are too high.
Get away from me. Get away from me. Don't touch me.
Oh great googly moogly, the power went out. I wanted to learn about synesthesia. Oh yay, the power's back on.
So, I hear you wanted to learn about synesthesia.
Superuncle, I thought you were dead. And yes, coincidentally it's on my pop exam tomorrow. Superuncle, how'd you end up here? So, anyways, what is synesthesia?
Well, synesthesia is a neurological condition where stimulation of one sensory or cognitive pathway triggers the second involuntary stimulation of another cognitive pathway. In layman's terms, it is a condition of the mixed senses, where the senses are mixed.
So, what causes this neurological sensation? Or this sensational
Well, you have a good sense of humor.
sense here?
No. Anyways, the causes of this condition are currently unknown, even to me, but there are some possible theories that are being theorized. One theory is that during an early stage of neurological development, the brain detects that a certain area is unsuitable for its typical function, so it transfers this function to a different area. For example, the auditory cortex might not be able to process sounds properly, so it transfers this function to the visual cortex, where other colors are processed, therefore associating colors with certain sounds. Another theory is that synesthesia can arise from taking psychedelic drugs, such as pot or LSD, like those kids at the smoker's pit. However, this seems to lead to a more temporary condition rather than a permanent one. In addition, it is believed that synesthesia can also be caused by temporarily or permanently by brain or spinal injuries, since they would cause damage to various cortices. Oh, and it can also be genetic.
So, with the five senses, what happens? Do they all get mixed together?
Actually, there are many different types of synesthesia where only a few senses are affected. Firstly, grapheme color synesthesia, the most common type, is when an individual associates letters and numbers with a certain color. Example, A will be red. Secondly, sound to color synesthesia is when certain sounds trigger color graphics to be seen, just like that episode of House earlier. And thirdly, there's number form synesthesia, where mental number map is visualized by the individual. Ordinal linguistic personification synesthesia, or OLP, is when an individual associates order sequences with personalities. For example, a person might think that the letter A is a rude letter. And finally, lexical gustatory synesthesia is when certain words or sounds trigger certain tastes to be associated with them.
That's radical stuff, but what exactly happens in the brain?
Well, let's dive into the swimming pool of knowledge of biology for this portion. One theory is that there's a cross-activation between different areas of the brain. For example, in lexical gustatory or word-to-taste synesthesia, it might happen because of increased connectivity between regions adjacent to the insula of the brain involved in taste processing and the temporal lobe regions involved in auditory processing. Thus, tastes are triggered by certain words.
Oh, I'm learning something!
Another theory is called disinhibited feedback. This theory works on the idea or the assumption that adjacent areas of the cortex are connected but usually inhibited. It suggests that normally an inducer triggers the firing of neurons from one pathway while inhibiting the other pathways. However, in a synesthetic patient, the irrelevant pathways, or incorrect senses, are inhibited, thus allowing multiple pathways or senses to activate along with the inducer.
Oh, I get it now. Yippee!
Next is a documentary about a patient with synesthesia.
This song's about my life as a synesthete, neurological condition, sensory. And I'm joining up the senses that are all inside of me, so I see what I must hear.
I know it can be caused by pot or LSD, but I'm clean, it can be caused by neural injury. The functions in my brain can be transferred somewhere else, can be also caused by gene.
I will let my synesthesia change how I live. But if I do, it's you, oh it's you I turn into. But I don't want it to, 'cause I'm a synesthete.
One of many types is called color theme, and maybe that's the reason that the number 3 is green. And all those conversations where the colors have appeared sound to color synesthesia.
Whenever I'm in math, the numbers appear in the air, 'cause number form synesthesia is there. My ABCs have personalities because of OLP. I will let my synesthesia change how I live. But if I do, it's you, oh it's you I turn into. But I don't want it to, 'cause I'm a synesthete. One neurological cause is cross-activation. Increased connectivity can cause all these sensations. Neurons are fired inside these multiple paths. This is called disinhibited feedback. Oh, I will let my synesthesia change how I live. But if I do, it's you, oh it's you might turn into, but I don't want it to, 'cause I'm a synesthete.
Now that I've finished educating you on all the topics I've known, it's time for me to go back to my natural habitat.
No, Superuncle.